Okay, welcome in one and all. I'm not going to be doing my reviews for Saturday and the NHL season. There were 8 games on tap. Normally, when it comes to Saturday, you think there'd be between 10 and 15 games, but because of all the Black Friday games, I believe there were 15 games on Friday, so only 8 games to speak of on Saturday. Now, the ironic thing is when it came to all the Friday games, there were only 2 teams that were home that would win, and then on this particular day, there'd only be 2 teams that were away that would win. So there were a lot more happy fans leaving their respected arenas uh, on this particular day. So take a look at the first matchup. You can see the 2 teams on your screen between the Montreal Canadiens and the Los Angeles Kings. 4-0 would be the final score in favor of the Kings. Carl Grundstrom would kick things off in the first, getting his 7th goal of the season from Pierre-Luc Dubois in England. And with about 4.5 minutes remaining, an even strength goal at that. So it was 1-0 in favor of the Kings heading into the second period. Trevor Moore would then increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 10th goal of the season, an even strength goal roughly halfway through the period, assisted by Kalikev and Dubois. And this was 2-0 in favor of the Kings heading into the third. Lewis would then get his 3rd goal of the season, 3 minutes and 14 seconds into the third, an even strength goal from Anderson Dolan. And then Trevor Moore would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 11th of the season, an even strength goal with about 6.5 minutes to go in the period. So with the victory, the Kings are now 13-3-3. And with the loss, the Habs are now 1 game below 500, 9-10-2. The next matchup takes place in New York, where we have the Rangers, and they were taking on the Boston Bruins. So 2 of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. And you should see the teams on your screen as we speak. Okay, so the final score on this one would be 7-4 in favor of the Rangers. In the first, Bonino would get his first goal as a member of the New York Rangers, roughly 6 minutes into the frame. No assists on his goal. It was an even strength one at that. Chris Kreider would then increase the lead to 2-0, getting a power play goal with about 11 minutes into that frame, assisted by Gustafsson and Panarin. Charlie Coyle would get the Bruins on the board, his 8th goal of the season, roughly 3 minutes after Kreider scored. Frederick and Van Riemsdyk would be the assists on his score. Morgan Geekie would get his 2nd goal of the season to tie things up at 2, with about 5 minutes and 45 seconds remaining in that frame, assisted by Lacko and Forbot. And then Chris Kreider, big surprise, will get a short-handed goal with about 1 minute 20 seconds to go in the frame, assisted by Jacob Trouba. So it's 3-2 in favor of the Rangers heading into the second period. Pastrnak would tie things up on a power play 26 seconds into that frame, assisted by Zaka. BC would then give the Rangers a 4-3 lead with about 3.5 minutes to go in that period. An even strength goal from Trocheck and Panarin. Miller would get his 2nd goal of the season, increasing the lead to 5-3, an even strength goal from Zibanejad and Chris Kreider. So it's 5-3 in favor of the Rangers heading into the third. Pitlick would get his first goal as a member of the New York Rangers, 1 minute and 26 seconds into the third, assisted by VC and Gaudreau. Charlie Coyle would then decrease the lead to 6-4, getting his 9th goal of the season and the 2nd of the game, assisted by Van Riemsdyk and Geekie. And then Panarin would pretty much ice the game with just under 5 minutes into that period, making it 7-4 as the final score. So with the victory, the Rangers are now 15-3-1, and despite the loss, the Bruins are still atop of that Atlantic Division, sitting at 14-3-3. All right, so staying in the Metro, we're off to New Jersey, and they were taking on the Buffalo Sabres. So the final score in this one would be 7-2 in favor of the Devils. Holtz would kick things off, minute 31 seconds into the first, his 6th of the season from Haula and Hamilton. Toffoli would then increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 10th goal of the season from Smith and Mercer, 11 minutes and 9 seconds into that frame. Hischier would then increase the lead to 3-0, getting his 3rd goal of the season from Palat and Bratt, with 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the frame. And speaking of Palat, he would then increase the lead to 4-0 with 1.5 minutes to go, getting his second of the season, an even strength goal from Bratt and Hischer. So it's 4-0 in favor of the Devils heading into the second period. Skinner would get the Sabres on the board, getting a power play goal a minute and 53 seconds into the second, his 10th of the season from Tuck and Middlestad. Toffoli would then get his second goal of the game, his 11th of the season from Holtz and Luke Hughes, 2 minutes and 44 seconds into that frame. So it was 5-1 in favor of the Devils heading into the third period. Mercer would then increase the lead to 6-1, getting his 4th goal of the season from Hamilton and Jack Hughes, an even strength goal. Okposo would then get the Sabres their second goal of the game, his second of the season as well from Owen Power and Peterka, a power play goal, 3 minutes and 55 seconds into that frame. And then Luke Hughes would then get a power play goal 5.5 minutes into that period, and the game was over at that point already. So 7-2 is the final from Newark. The victory, the Devils are now back to 500, 9-9-1. And with the loss, the Sabres are now 1 game below 500, sitting at 9-10-2. Our next matchup is still in the Metro, where we have the host Pittsburgh Penguins, and they're taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay, so you should see the team's logos on the screen. So a very interesting matchup in this one. The big thing is obviously Kyle Dubas, who was the former GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, now a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins. I believe he's the president, if I'm mistaken, of that squad. So his first time facing his former team. And it'd be a memorable one, to say the least, as the Penguins would get a 3-2 comeback against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Tyler Bertuzzi would kick things off 4 minutes into the first, getting his 5th goal of the season from Tavares and Morgan Riley. I do apologize. An even strength goal. Jan Gensel would score with just about 30 seconds after that to tie things up, getting his 7th goal of the season from O'Connor and Crosby, an even strength goal. And Matthew Knies would then increase the lead to 2-1 in favor of the Leafs, getting his 6th goal of the year from Yarncroke with roughly 8 minutes into that frame. So it was 2-1 in favor of the Leafs heading into the second period. Noah Cherry, yet another former Maple Leaf, would tie things up halfway through that period. No assists on his score, getting a 2nd of the season. And then Erik Karlsson would then get the go-ahead goal with just under 30 seconds to go, his 6th of the season from Letang and Carter. And 3-2 is where we would sit at the end of this one. With the victory, the Penguins are back to 500, 10-10-0. And despite the loss, the Leafs are still 4 games above 500, sitting at 10-6-3. Again, still sticking with Metro, we have to New York, where we have the Islanders, and they were playing host to the Philadelphia Flyers. So it'll be a low-scoring affair, to say the least. There are actually no goals throughout regulation or overtime. It would take until a shootout to decide a winner. Forster would get the shootout winner for the Philadelphia Flyers. So, again, very low scoring, just a 1 goal to report. The game-winning goal, I should say. So with the victory, the Flyers are 11-9-1. And despite the loss, the Islanders are still 2 games above 500, 8-6-6. All right, now we're off to the Central Division, where we have the Colorado Avalanche, and they were playing host to the Calgary Flames. Okay, you should see the team's logos on the screen. So the Avalanche would come away with the victory in this one. 3-1 would be the final score. Jonathan Drouin would kick things off with a power play goal in the first, getting his 3rd goal of the season from Rantanen and McKinnon. So it's 1-0 in favor of the Avs heading into the second period. Ryan Johansson would increase the lead to 2-0, 10 minutes and 10 seconds into that frame. no assists on his score. Backlund would get the Flames on the board, getting his 4th goal of the season from Huberdeau and Coleman, with just under 8 minutes to go in that frame. And then, 34 seconds later, Nathan MacKinnon would pot his 7th goal of the season from Nichushkin and Gail Makar. So 3-1 would be the final score from Denver. With the victory, the Avs are now 8 games above 500, sitting at 14-6-0. And with the loss, the Flames are now 2 games below 500, 8-10-3 is where they sit at this mark. Now we're off to the Pacific Division, where we have the host San Jose Sharks, and they're playing against the Vancouver Canucks. So the final score on this one would be 4-3 in favor of the Sharks. That's right. The Sharks actually got a rare win in this one. Emberson would kick things off in the first for San Jose, getting his first of the season from Hertl and Hoffman with roughly 10 minutes into that frame. Hronek would then tie things up with just under 4 minutes to go in that period. A power play goal from Miller and Quinn Hughes. Sorry, just under 5 minutes to go in that frame. So it's all tied up at 1 heading into the second period. Zetterlund would get his 5th goal of the season, giving the Sharks a 2-1 lead, assisted by Hertl with just under 6 minutes to go in the frame. Boeser would then tie things up on a power play late in that period, 21 seconds to go. His 14th of the season from Miller and Hronek. So it's all tied up at 2 heading into the third period. Granlund would get his first goal as a member of the San Jose Sharks, assisted by Addison and Ferraro, just 22 seconds into that third period. Hoffman would then get his 6th goal of the year from Granlund and Addison, a power play goal, just a minute and 26 seconds after Granlund gave them the lead. Boeser would then decrease the lead to 4-3, getting his 15th goal this season, his 2nd of the game from Miller and Pettersson, and that goal would happen with 3 minutes and 11 seconds to go in the frame. Unfortunately, the Canucks were not able to mount a comeback, so that is where we would stand at the end of regulation. So with the victory, the Sharks are 11 games below 500, 4-15-2, and despite the loss, the Canucks are 7 games above 500, 14-7-1. And the last matchup takes place in Vegas, where we have the Golden Knights, and they're playing host against the Arizona Coyotes. So a low-scoring affair to say the least, and it was not in favor of the home team, so a bit of an upset, in my opinion. There were no goals to speak of in the first or second, respectively, so we have to jump all the way to the third, 10 minutes and 38 seconds into that frame. Keller would get the go-ahead goal, which would end up being a game-winning goal, his 8th of the season from Cooley and Schmaltz, and then Krause would put the game on ice 2-0, his 10th goal of the season from Michelli and Bjugstad. So 2-0 would be the final in this one. With the victory, the Coyotes are now back to 500 at 9-9-2, and despite the loss, the Vegas Golden Knights are still 9 games above 500, 14-5-2. Alrighty, that should take care of all of Saturday's action. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, please feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative at the same time. And as always, take care.